Hello, I'm Mike Robinson. I'm an English chef and restaurateur. I've got 2 restaurants in Britain, one in London that's the only pub in the whole town to have a Michelin star, and we love cooking wild food and game. I recently did a series for Outdoor Channel and MOTV called Farming the Wild, and the 2nd season's hitting your screens in September. Now, while this terrible events the world's going on at the moment, I am going to be cooking a lovely recipe every day with wild food, of which there is a profusion here in the Cotswolds of England, just to help show you how easy this sort of food can be and how well you can do it. Well, hello everyone, this is my recipe for today. Again, this is my last one using a bit of wild garlic, but I'm going to make a store cupboard soup, but a really classy one. And I'm using these. Now, a few weeks ago, I went on Amazon and I bought 20 kilos of dried haricot beans. And I love beans and pulses. And if you buy them dried like this, they last forever. They literally last forever. And what I did is I soaked them last night overnight. And then here I've had them simmering with a bit of thyme and a bit of garlic and a bit of rosemary in fresh water for about an hour and a half, nice and slow. And now they've rehydrated fully and they're tender. And they're delicious, they're really nutty. So, I'm doing a wild garlic and white bean soup. It's going to be tasty as hell. I'm going to start with chopping some vegetables. Now, I always think cutting vegetables properly is something that a lot of people have difficulty with. I'm going to start off with some carrots. So, in this instance, what I'm going to do, I don't want to waste anything. If I was in restaurants, I'd cut them into squares and then cut them into perfect dice. But I don't want to waste anything, so I haven't peeled the carrots. I've washed the carrots really, really well. So I'm just cutting them now, each one, little carrots, into quarters. And what I do is I line them all up. I hold my knife like this. This is a little knife I made myself out of a piece of deer antler. Nice to use everything. And I just start by cutting this into nice pieces. You see the knife is running down my middle knuckle, like so. So, again, I'm going to cut it down and down, then down. Carrots, I think, cut neatly, so they're all roughly the same size. Lovely. So what we're going to do is do a basic 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗹. Now the 𝗦𝗲𝗶𝗶𝗹 is celery, carrot and onion, and that's like the holy trinity of vegetables for good basic cooking, and it makes the beginning of everything. I'm going to drop these into my pan, which is just at the moment olive oil. And now I'm going to do some onion. So onions, I'm going to cut them coarsely. So I'm going to cut them into 3 horizontal layers. This onion's been in my cupboard for a little while, but it's still very usable for all that. I'm going to make sure I use everything, even if things are look a bit wonky. If they're edible, at this point in time, we need to really be using them. So that's the prime bit. Now I'm going to take the ends and I'm going to chop them. I'm going to run my knife through them just to finish them off. These are going to go lovely and soft in the olive oil and be our flavour base. I'm not trying to do a very chefy, very fine cut. Celery, next one. So celery, I'm going to cut nice long batons out of the celery. So, trim it all up. Nice slice like so. Celery, carrot and onion, the holy trinity. So they need to soften up. And they're going to be absolutely delicious. It's just a mixture of savoury flavours that really is delicious. So you need to cook those out until they soften, until they sort of look a little bit translucent. Okay, and extract the flavour from them without burning them in any way. Right, while I'm doing that, I'm going to cut my wild garlic. So here's my nice pot of wild garlic. It's all been washed, and any really big stalks I'm going to remove, even though they can be very tasty. There we go. I'm going to roll it all up, bunch it, I'm going to start slicing it. And I'm going to cook this soup for the minimum amount of time possible. It's not going to be something that I'm going to simmer for hours and hours. That's why I pre-cook the beans. I want the vegetables to keep as much vitamin in them as humanly possible, and that means not overcooking them. So I'm going to run this knife through here. Lovely. First load. We'll do another one. Now the wild garlic, as I said before, the wild garlic's been soaked in fresh water in a sink with a big handful of salt. That makes sure any bugs get killed and is a real good way of making sure there's no unwanted protein in your soup. So, right, there is our lovely pile of garlic. There's our green veg. Stir her up. It's coming on nicely. I want the veg still crunchy, so I'm going to pop the garlic in. So, fold it through and just wilt it a little bit. This is going to be so tasty. It smells amazing already, and it's very, very simple cooking. You literally could add water and seasoning and you'd have a good one. But I've got a little Knorr stock cube here, one of those pots, and it's a chicken stock. That's because I like the flavour. You could use vegetable stock, of course. In it goes, like so. Here is some nicely boiled water, and here's a little splash of white wine. Have a nice look in here. White wine's gone in. Stir it in. Add the water. I'm only making this for 2 of us, so I'm not making a vast amount. So I think that will be adequate. Let that simmer for, it's going to take 5 minutes tops. There we are. So let that simmer. Now I'm going to get my strainy device. Let's have a look at our beans. Looking gorgeous. So these are my haricot beans, my white beans. I'm going to add them in to my soup. They've been nicely cooked, as I say, about 2 hours of gentle simmering, having soaked them overnight. There you go, look at that white bean and wild garlic. It's looking pretty tasty actually. Let the stock do its thing. Simmer that for a moment. Extremely healthy cooking. Really, really good for you and really delicious. Lots and lots of pepper now. And this is really wild food at its best. If you can't find wild garlic, here's a little thought. Have a look, come on up here. I suggest that you go and pick some young nettles. Now, young nettles are everywhere at the moment. I found some this morning whilst doing the chickens. They're very prickly, they're very, very stingy, but they're also unbelievably good for you. They're full of vitamins, they're full of iron. They're an amazing green vegetable. So I heartily recommend you go and pick a load with gloves on of these. Blanch them in boiling water. Lots of nice seasoning in there. Yeah, blanch them in boiling water. They're going to be absolutely amazing. Okay, we are going to let that simmer for less than 10 minutes just to get all the flavour out. And then when we come back, I'm going to poach a couple of hen's eggs. We got our pesto from yesterday, and we're going to assemble this soup, and it's going to be an amazing, healthy wild lunch. Okay, my soup's pretty much done. I've just tasted it. Just with those 5 or 6 ingredients, it tastes amazing. I've got a pan of water on here. I'm going to put a splash of cider vinegar in it. And my clever, lovely girls have been laying like crazy with the warm weather. And you see I've got different coloured eggs, different species of chickens. These little blue eggs are called 𝗦𝗬𝗿𝗀, and they are delicious, and they're a nice small size. I'm going to whisk my water up. I'm going to pop an egg in there, let it poach. I'll do another one. Lovely, there you have a look in there. You see with the swirling water, it holds the eggs together as they poach. Perfect. And then they'll just sit there, and the convection currents in the water will just keep the white curled around the yolk. Nice. 3 minutes, they'll be done. So, I reckon this is ready. I've checked the seasoning. The soup looks and smells amazing. I'm going to dole some out. I actually ended up making enough, as always, for about 6. But it's so healthy and good for you. This will literally just keep you going forever. Look at that. That is the white bean soup. I'm going to make a little hole in the centre. I'm going to extract our eggs. And roll a perfect egg into there. Another one there. And then here, turn this off. To finish it off, I've got some of our amazing wild garlic green sauce, which I'm going to tip over the top like that. And I'm going to give it a last grind of pepper. There you have it, a store cupboard wild soup made out of wild garlic picked yesterday, dried haricot beans that you can keep through an apocalypse forever, and some very simple vegetables that you've probably got in your cupboard. Couple of eggs, bingo. That is delicious, healthy, nutritious, and amazing. I'm going to be cooking something else tomorrow. I don't know what yet, but it should be fun. Good timing. Postman's here.